Ashe greetings, grand rising, a grand day. Wonderful, beautiful, sunshiny day, and goodwill, peace and goodwill to you all once again. My fellow natural native earthly humans the world over. And again, thanks for stopping by and for taking the time out to listen. This is yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher, and welcome to part 35, the continuation of my series of talks titled Can Africa Be Set Free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, the land of people of integrity, be set free? Now, if you haven't yet watched or listened to part 1 through to part 34, and hopefully in that consecutive order, I ask that you please do so before going forward with this part number 35. Or that you please do so at your earliest convenience, for I can almost assure you that by doing so, you may learn something new. Which, learning something new from my perspective, is part of what this thing that we call life is all about. Or you may be reminded about something, or will be reminded of something, or at the very least, you may get something to think about, something to ponder about, something to talk about, something to disagree with, or at worst, something to provoke you to see things a little bit differently, or a little differently. And please note that I did not say that by listening to yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher, that you will learn something, but that you may learn something. The operative word I want you to bear in mind here is the word may, no guarantee. The truth be told, these talks, these presentations are definitely not for everyone. Because I'm well aware of the possibility, if not the fact, that some of you, my listeners, might be offended by the truth, or more correctly, by the facts that are enveloped in what I'm saying. But as the late Robert Nesta Marley said in one of his most famous songs called Jah Live, and I quote him again, he said, the truth is an offense, but not a sin, unquote. And the late Dale Carnegie, author of the book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, he once said, those convinced against their will is of the same opinion still, unquote. And for the record, I, the Mystic P, is not a con. I'm not a con. And neither am I trying to con you, to convert you, to convince you, to confound you, or to confuse you. Not at all. Or anyone. Not at all. I am just sharing another perspective and a lot of things from my, I, the Mystic P's, angle of observation. And in this series, I am sharing what I perceived and think I know that I know must be done in order for our motherland, I'll keep you land, aka Africa, and by extension all her children, home and abroad, to be set free. And please note, not to gain freedom and still maintain that dome and under the dome, the dominion, etc. Not at all, but to be free. Now, for those of you who have been listening to some, if not all, of my previous episodes, you will already know that my answer to those two questions, or to these two questions. Number one, can Africa be set free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, be set free? You don't know that it is a resounding yes. In fact, yes, yes, and much more yeses. And I have no doubt about such a possibility. However, the purpose of this series of talks is to show you, my listeners, from I, the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, and I, spiritual and intellectual insights, how and when Africa, Burkina Faso, and by extension, we all African people, home and abroad, can and will be set free from the tyranny of the soulless creatures, their imperialism and their colonialism. It was the late Maya Angelou who once said, and quote, the truth is no one of us can be set free until everybody is free, unquote. And with that fact in mind, we both know that none of us Africans, none of us highly melaninated people, nations or individual, can be free until all of us are indeed free. Now, someone asked me to explain why do I say that Bill Gates and his money is a curse. And that if Africa or any African leader or leaders accept it, they would be accepting a curse that he, Bill Gates, wants to now rid himself of. Here I must say that when you know, you know. And when you don't know, you just don't know. And those of you, my listeners, that are in the know, you already know what I'm talking about. Now, for the benefit of you, my listeners, first, let me ask and answer the following question. What is a curse? 1. A curse is a prayer that evil, bad luck, misfortune, a bad omen or harm, etc., befall someone or come upon someone. It is a consignment of a person or an evil fate. It's a consignment of a person to an evil fate, aka a consignment of a person to an evil outcome, meaning you sentence them, spiritually that is, to torture, suffering, and eventually death. Number 2, a curse can also be cast and broadcast, recast and rebroadcast upon an individual, upon a group of individuals, upon a family, upon a nation, a country, and even upon an entire race of people using spells and other rituals, etc. And 3, a curse can be cast and broadcast, recast and rebroadcast upon an individual by his or her own self. Yes, a lot of people curse themselves. By his or her own can be cast by his or own, her own actions, his or own, her own thoughts, his or her own words, his or her own intentions. A curse can be cast and rebroadcast upon one by his or her own associations, his or her own meditation, and by his or her own ignorance, etc., etc., etc. And number 4, and also for your information, we consciously and unconsciously, intentionally and unintentionally cast and broadcast curses, aka cast and broadcast evil spells on each other, even on our own children and spouses every day. For example, when somebody bad drive us, I don't want to get there, but when somebody bad drive us on the highway, we curse them, we curse them. We say we curse them in Jamaica, but we curse them. And we cuss them out. Oh yeah. When somebody does injustice, we curse them. Jamaica, we cuss them out. When we are in a quarrel or in a fight with someone, we curse our opponent, the person we are fighting with, etc., etc. You don't know what I'm talking about. And at a deeper level, this is what the late Robert Nesta Marley was talking about in one of his songs called Positive Vibrations. And I quote, he said, if you get down and you quarrel every day, you are saying prayers to the devils, I say, unquote. Go listen to that song, beautiful song. You will enjoy it. Now listen to the truth in it. And if you are consciously or unconsciously praying to devils, consciously or unconsciously praying to devils, then what kind of results are you expecting to get? But please stay tuned for I, the Mystic Philosopher. We'll have much, much, much more to say about that in my upcoming series of talks on the power of language, the power of words, the power of names, signs, symbols, energy, sematics, frequency, vibration, curses and spells, and the colonization of the mind, aka mental colonization, and much, much more. Please stay tuned. And what is a prayer? Prayer. I touched on that in the last episode. If a curse is a prayer that evil and bad luck, misfortune, and a bad omen or harm, etc., befall someone or come upon someone, then what exactly is a prayer? Now, please let me break this down for some of you, my listeners. Because from my own personal experiences, my own observations, knowledge, and perspective, I might add, of a lot of people, if not the majority of people that say that they are praying The truth be told, most of them don't have a real idea of what they are doing, let alone know what they are doing. A prayer, and by extension praying, is an act of communicating with a God. Or it's an act of communicating with gods or Elohim, or act of communicating with a source, with an Orisha, with a group of Orishas, or with an angel, or with a group of angels, or with an entity or a group of entities, or with a spirit or a group of spirits, with ghosts or a group of ghosts. Or just in Jamaica with duppies, or a group of duppies, or with a person, or a group of persons, etc., etc. Now, what is the purpose of a prayer? In other words, why pray? A prayer is the earnest request of a God, or of a source, a medium, an entity, a spirit, a ghost, or a ghost of a person, or a person, a human or another human being, etc., to do something for you, or to make something happen to you or to someone on your behalf, etc., etc. That's the purpose of a prayer. So I think there was one prayer would have worked for me, and that was that of my mother. Nobody else, no other prayer on the planet no one prayer can ever be effective for this I, the Mystic Philosopher. And no one, please don't pray for I. That's why I said, please don't pray, especially we're praying to for our beloved Abraham Traore. Anyway, but I'm on a stray. That's why I prepare my material, because I have so much I want to talk about that I will go off the track. Anyway, so that's the purpose of prayer. It is to entreat or to petition gods or spirits to work for you, to work on your behalf. And prayer is also the practice of praying or communicating with God, or with a God, or as mentioned before, gods, etc. Now, the question that a thinking and a critically and analytically minded person might be asking right here and at this time is this: whose God, or which God, gods, Elohim, which source, which Orisha or Orishas, angel or angels, entity or entities, spirit or spirits, ghost or ghosts, duppy or duppies, person or persons, etc., are you praying to, or are you communicating with? Do you know? The next question that I will ask and answer here for you is this. Let's think about the last thing I said. Do you know? Is this: what is money? That's the next question I will ask. And my answer to that question is this: if or when most things, if not all things, are seriously and honestly considered, one will conclude that money is the root of all evil. This I also sing about in one of my songs. Let me give it a plug here. The song is called The Mark of the Beast. Please Google it. Please go check it out. By yours truly, The Mark of the Beast. Please take a good listen and give me your feed forward. Now, some will argue, and some have argued, that money is not the root of all evil, but that it is the love of money that is the root of all evil. Now, people who just read and regurgitate things without thinking wouldn't ask this question. But let me show you this. The reason why I, the Mystic Philosopher, disagree with that argument is this: if love, the operative word here now is this: if love is good, meaning that it is the opposite of evil, then how can it be possible that loving something or loving someone, meaning bestowing love upon something or bestowing love upon someone that is not inherently evil, makes the resultant evil? Think about what I've just asked. Another thing that I must also quickly tell you about this thing called money is that it is not natural. It is not of nature. And by extension, it is not of our most honorable, natural, native, earthly human ancestors. And that it is an alien ideology. It is an ideology, but an alien ideology. And things that are alien and unnatural, and things that are alien and unnatural, are producers of evil. We'll have more on that in future presentation. Another thing that you must know about money is that another name for money is currency, meaning current, constantly flowing, constantly circulating, or constantly moving, as in electricity, etc., or in river current or water current. And if you try to interrupt its flow by trying to hold on to it, or hoarding it, or holding on to more than what is needed for your current survival, it will cause you to be a curse by bringing, or cause you to be a curse, yes, by bringing a curse upon you. And why? It is because you are actually depriving others of their fair share. And eventually, it will spiritually, physically, emotionally, and psychologically destroy you. And that is why most people with excess money, examples, the elites, the multi-billionaires, millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires, you name them, and people, some of the people you can think of and know. That's why they are some of the most ruthless, some of the most restless, some of the most miserable people on the planet. They know no peace, and they can't find peace. And some, like Bill Gates, have come to realize, or to the realization, that in order for them to find some level of peace, some level of tranquility, mental and otherwise, that they have to get rid of the money, which is the root of all evil, that they are holding on to or hoarding, and that have brought them the curse. And so I would ask that you do your own search and then research on the subject in question. Yes, Bill Gates. And please, just don't jump to ChatGPT AI and accept everything that it may tell you as a fact. Please bear in mind that ChatGPT AI and all other such AI system, artificial systems, are not natural sentient human beings, but that they are programmable computing systems that are programmed by sentient human and human beings with their own prejudices, some with their own prejudices to produce answers in accordance to how they are programmed. And thus, from my perspective, AI is not infallible and can produce responses that are not always 100% accurate, if at all they are always 100% accurate. Check out his genealogy. Check out his family tree and family influence and influential both him and his family influential connections and their belief system, his beliefs and utterances pertaining. Check out his beliefs and utterances pertaining to things like birth control and population control and other sensitive subjects that impact our humanity. And then check out how he made his billions. And after you do all that and possible more, you can then determine for yourself if you are convinced that he is a righteous man, that he is a man with only pure and righteous intention for Africa. I don't care when with the other people, his own people. I'm thinking about our people, Africa. I'm not advocating for nobody else but Africans. Or if he is a curse for our African people, home and abroad. And if you can if he can or should be trusted with the lives and the future of our fellow African people. And by then, you will and you should know what to do or what not to do with Bill Gates and his billions and his money, the root of all evil. In fact, in part 36, I will use a story from the Adamic Race History and Holy Book, aka the Bible, the Christian Holy Bible, as an allegory to show and prove to you that Bill Gates' money will only bring a curse to our people and our motherland, Africa. So stay tuned for that. I run out of time. Yes, I run out of time. And we'll have to continue talking about Bill Gates' curse money and give you examples why all African leaders of integrity should and must promptly reject it. So I ask that you please join me in part 36 For the continuation of Can Africa be set free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, be set free? And please stay tuned, for I will have much more to talk to you about colonization of the mind, aka mental colonization, in my upcoming series. In the meantime and between time, here's willing that you be more and more and much, much more, and definitely not be less. You're going to learn something about these words later on. Stay tuned. So be more and more in your becoming. Become more. Unfold. Evolve more. Greatness. More and much, much more. And definitely not less. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe. Ashe. Ashe, I say. And thanks for listening. Please share if you think it's worthwhile sharing. And somebody else want to be provoked like you are. Thanks. Have yourself a great day.